Dawn Command fall in for the returning missions and adventures of Wing 023 in Operation Emberfall. Forgot our show's name for a second there. It's so good to see you, everybody. I missed all your faces. I missed doing this game. And yeah, we had a crazy few weeks. Firstly, I want to welcome back the amazing Eliza Pearl. Thank you so much for coming back.
Yay!
And thank you we're so glad to have you again.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
We held down the fort, but it is now great to have a complete wing. And again, welcome back, Rave. Rave, hopefully, how you feeling? You good too?
Feeling better, and then feeling even better considering what happened last Tuesday. So
yes,
honestly, it's been uphill, an upward swing.
I think there's a general feeling of not out of the woods, but man, is it better now. So we're gonna carry that. We're going to carry that feeling forward. So tonight is going to be what's called an interlude. It is a pause point between missions, and it makes sense because previously on Operation Emberfall, when we last left our wing, there was only one of them left, the Shrouded Phoenix Veil, literally carrying the ashes of her two wingmates, Smoke, or of her three wingmates, Smoke, Crash, and Rama, as well as the ashes of a mysterious foe who had bested, that they had seemingly discovered in a village hut. The mission did not go. The mission was accomplished, but not without great loss. On the way back to their exfiltration point, two mysterious humans posing as carriage drivers ambushed the rest of the wing, revealing one to be a assassin automaton, if you will. They mentioned many cryptic messages, including something about a midnight hour. And with that, Vale was able to escape to a nearby boat where she is on board a Wendari ship sailing back to Pyre to make sense of so much that happened in their second mission. And that's where we'll begin. Vale, it's been a 2.5 to 3 day journey. You haven't slept at all. You don't need to sleep as a Phoenix, as we've all discussed, but you've just been sitting on the horizon. As a matter of fact, tell me what you've been doing in the last 2 days of travel.
I'm sitting in whatever sort of quarters they gave me, and I keep running through the events since we were put together. And I just keep repeating, it was a trap. It was all a trap. It was all a trap. And I keep just trying to piece together exactly how far back it all goes.
The captain of the ship, I don't believe we gave him a name last week, so we'll give him the name of Quentin. Quentin has given you your space. Quentin has run this route before for Phoenixes. Wendaris in general, since they've lost their islands to the Dread, have found a renewed purpose in being maritime transport for Phoenixes back from the mainland of Delea to Pyre. So certainly he's seen this situation before. When he saw you coming down that hill, he knew to get the ship going. And because of that, he's given you space. He's given you sort of the space you need. But he has absolutely noticed you saying it's a trap over and out loud. He dare not impose. It's none of his business, but he has taken note of it, and as such has instructed the crew to give you whatever space you need. They've offered you food. They've offered you water. It's entirely up to you if you've taken it or not. I imagine the canisters of the ash reservoir has not left your clutches.
Not at all.
Okay, great. You see Pyre, and it's interesting seeing Pyre from sort of this distance. You're approaching it from the leeward side, and as such, you're seeing really just the vast array of docks that are on one side of it. You see the small town of human civilians who operate as essentially a mercantile system for the human adepts that are stationed inside of the Grand Eyrie. Quentin goes to the mast of the ship and with a lantern signals a series of codes, and you see a corresponding flash of light coming from the shore, pointing you to a specific dock. as the boat maneuvers its way across and comes into dock, you see probably about five to six human adepts in Phoenix robes, all carrying various supplies, essentially a reception squad, led by one Phoenix who you recognize as the devoted Phoenix, Mercy. Mercy is a member of 3rd Squadron, I believe. I believe Gamma Flight, and she is standing there in seemingly good spirits. But as your boat comes closer and closer into harbor, she sees you and only you, and she sees the 4 canisters that you're holding in your arms, and her expression goes blank. And we're going to pause there in real time, and we're going to flash back to the day of the battle, to inside this cabin where the forceful Phoenix, Crash, was in single combat with this mysterious Phoenix, as best as you can tell. He bears multiple talons. He has mysterious magic that none of you seem to recognize. Crash, you have thrown everything at this person. You've inflicted one wound, but you're getting the sense that it was almost as if he allowed that to happen to see what you're made of. And you are on your last health level. The impacts are not just physically crushing. There seems to be some magic at play that you are not familiar with, a dampening effect. And in this moment, mere seconds before your wingmate Rama bursts through the door, I believe it was you, Rama, right? Yeah. Seconds before your wingmate Rama is to burst through the door, there is a moment where he looks down at you with his blade drawn and says, well, maybe there's hope after all.
Is that some kind of joke?
You should know by now, the world being what it is, there ain't much time for humor.
Who are you?
His face has a hood and is a shifting, almost like if you took stained glass and lenticular glass and layered it 5 deep. Almost like this weird shifting light refracting. You can't see features on it. But for a moment, all of that wipes away almost as if a ripple through a pond, and you see the basic outline of a nondescript face with a little bit of a smile. And he simply says, I'll see you on the other side, kid. Say hi to Winter for me. As his blade comes down, taking your life. Your body falls, but as the physical limitation of the ground stops your body, your spark, your flame, continues to fall down and faster as the familiar, almost comforting hot wind of the crucible takes you. And you land hard, but in a non-painful manner, inside your crucible, this infinite sea of beautiful warm colors. And it takes you a second to get used to it, but what you're noticing now is that you have an ability, your thoughts are starting to affect the environment of your crucible. So in this moment, as Crash regains her senses, how does your crucible reflect your thoughts? In what shape does it take? In what place does it send you?
There's no real answers for Crash right now, and she's still just really confused as to what was happening upstairs. and who that was and what he was and why he was and why she's sad right now. So a lot of questions. So her environment reflects that. There's nothing concrete in this environment. Like you said, it's colorful. It's almost like a psychedelic, colorful. She's in a dome that's just like swirling patches of color and blobs of color. Like one of those lamps, you know, those psychedelic lamps.
Like a lava lamp?
A lava lamp, yeah.
All right, there you go. There you go. I was a teenager in the 90s, I know. Cool. What basic color palette? What are you thinking?
I would say
feeling?
primary colors like red, blue, yellow.
Okay. High contrast. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool. As you stand up in this infinite lava lamp psychedelic landscape, you begin to hear footsteps, but they're very gentle footfalls, they almost have like a musical. They have a meter and a rhythm to them, and they don't clop hard. They just sort of like dance on whatever this background is. And you hear a voice that says, "You have some options." And you recognize this voice as your original mentor. And she says, "We may continue our journey together as always, but your death is a unique one. What in this moment fills your mind? Speed or secrets?"
Secrets. I have so many questions.
We understand. We'll see you again shortly. And no more footsteps, but a voice that simply says, "Behind you." And you turn to see your new mentor, a shrouded phoenix. Describe your mentor as you see them.
My mentor is actually 1.5 feet tall and is, how do I describe this? If you would imagine a cross between Cousin It and a black tiny tablecloth.
Okay.
So
I love this so much.
So this, and I literally thought of this earlier today. Like, I'm not just making this up right now. This is what my mentor looks like. So yeah, it's almost as if a small, like, velvety tablecloth had life and had a body underneath it, but you can only see the outside. And it's almost like a little ghost that floats and walks, scuttles around along on the ground. But yeah. And
Got it.
It has a big booming voice.
Got it. So you hear, "Behind you," and you turn around and you see nothing. And then you hear, "Down here." And you look down and you see a little ink blot Pac-Man ghost at your feet. And there's a moment where you are, is this it? Like, so different than your sort of matronly mentor that you had before. And there's a moment of a pause, and you just hear him say, "Yep. Anyway, I missed. Gonna be helping you through here. Assume you have some questions. I'll tell you what we can."
Hi, Mist.
Yep.
Hi. Well, I'm guessing you probably can't tell me who that was.
Who what was? We don't live out there, so.
Oh, right. You didn't
describe.
Just experience that. I was just killed by what I believe was another phoenix.
That's
It
us.
was, yeah. And it was a phoenix that was very advanced. Like it's lived many lives. And I start to describe this phoenix.
Well, since you've chosen the School of the Shrouded, we can tell you that a shrouded phoenix has the ability once a day to change their appearance. Now, based on everything you're telling us, sounds like this one, at least, if not at a core, has taken a few lessons of the School of the Shrouded. So that's something to keep in mind. Probably a core of a shrouded at his core. Assuming it's a he. Here's the thing: gender, like when you get 4 or 5 levels out, it really doesn't matter anymore. It's just sort of if you like. And this person sounds like they were definitely a shrouded phoenix. So it makes sense that you're here. Was that it, or what else can I do for you?
Okay. From forceful to shrouded. What can I do now? What are my options?
The first lesson can probably be drawn by how you and I met. You heard a voice, you turned around, and the last thing you expected to see was all this, and you see it give like a little jiggle. But that's okay, because it's the least likely. And with that, mist just like an ink blot that gets squirted out. He's gone, and then he's behind you, and then all of a sudden you're tripped down on your back, and then he's up on your belly, and he says, "So you didn't expect that?" And so much about being a shrouded is the unexpected and about learning secrets. There wasn't anything terribly crazy about what we just did. We just knew something you didn't. And if by the time you leave here, that's something you should really consider. Is that all there is to secrets? You don't have to know everything. You just got to know one thing that somebody else doesn't.
I tried to lift up his outer layer.
You do, and it's another one of the same.
I actually burst out laughing.
Yeah, no, that's popular. I haven't had a student in about it's either 3 weeks or 45 years. I don't quite know. It's a little fuzzy in here, but that's always a fun little party trick, especially on the first day, and then it like scrunches to do like air quotes around day. Like its whole torso. It's got no points of articulation. It's a really horrible action figure. It's like, so listen, we have a little bit of time here, and based on everything you're telling me, you're going to want to get back to your wing in an amount of time that's relatively quick to you. Again, time doesn't matter here. You'll pop out the next day, but we don't want to spend too much time because we want your memories to be fresh so you can share. Because again, secrets, it's really just memory with a story. That's it. It's just memory with a specific story around it. So that's a good segue. Wow, we didn't plan that, but that's a really good segue into one of the things that we can teach you. And he hops off your belly and runs over to your head and does like a little, like, slight, gentle, hungy style headbutt onto your temple. And in that moment, you see it's like your mind and your memories are going down a water slide. And you just experience so many little fleeting, quick emotions, and it's sensory overload. But as your mind begins to stabilize, you feel like you could reach out and grab one of those memories, and if you wanted to, you could get some kind of benefit out of that. And this ability is represented by the card, or by the rank 2 shrouded talent, Borrowed Memories. And I'm going to read it for you. When you make a skill spread associated with lore, you add 5 to the total. When you acquire this lesson, select one basic intellect or grace trait card from the unused traits and add it to your deck. During your turn, you can burn 2 sparks to replace this card in your hand, discard pile, or deck with a different basic trait. So, yeah. So basically, you can take, so just making sure I'm reading this right. You can essentially like keep a card in here, like essentially, Something like one basic intellect or grace trait card from the user to enter your deck. During your turn, you may burn 2 sparks to replace this card with a basic trait card. So yeah, whatever card you choose and add to your deck, you can swap that out with a different card, whatever it is, by burning 2 sparks. In addition to that, it gives you a skill bonus when you make a lore check. And for you and for the audience at home, lore is basically described as like a general understanding of all schools of magic. So you have a working knowledge of Ashcraft, a working knowledge of Dustcraft, a working knowledge of shamanism, a working knowledge of every kind of school of math. And then also lore is just a great way of saying like specific mythology around significant things in the world that you can see. It's a very good general catch-all skill to have. And since you don't have lore as your core talent specialty, this is a good way to supplement that build. So that's one option. You stand up from that almost like in a sensory overload. And you look, and mist is gone.
Hello? Hello?
And then you start, and he jumps on you on your back, and you fall back down again. And he says, okay, so that's the other thing we can teach you. Basically, it's interesting you being a forceful phoenix because you are fast. But what happens, go with me for this for a second, if you're fast and silent at the same time? And he stands back and begins to demonstrate as much as a 1.5-foot ink blot can, a new combat style, which he calls Shadow Knife.
Okay.
So, Shadow Knife is a combat style. Your attack would be based on intellect, which would be a little hard for you. And your defense is grace.
Okay.
Special ability is that if you're hidden when you make an attack, the damage is brutal. So as long as you're hidden, that immediately ticks that off. That said, you are a forceful phoenix, and most of your cards are not intellect based. So this would be a little bit difficult for you. That said, I'm very flexible when it comes to this. You are, in addition to all of this, you're going to gain a few other things. And one of them is a rank 5 card, which you could be towards that. Now, that said, I believe... Yeah, no, we'd have to. We if you wanted to choose this, we could work something around this and figure out how that works. But yeah, that's so essentially in your time with him, you have an ability. You could pursue one of these, and not necessarily the other.
Okay. Well, as cool as that stealthy attack move was, I think I'm gonna go with Borrowed Memories.
Borrowed Memories, a fantastic card. It increases your skill, ability, and output overall. It just gives you a lot more variance, especially as a forceful. You can card draw by hitting a 2. You get a lot of options for essentially, in Magic they would call this mana fixing. Like you have the ability to fix your card spread to a bit more of a custom repose. So that's cool. So over the next, time is irrelevant. You work with him on essentially being able to draw memories from him, but draw memories from others, specifically your wingmate. And in doing this, you're able to almost tap into their memories from here. And you're seeing little flashes and elements of each of your wingmates, 2 of them who are already in the Crucible, so it's a little bit easier. But even with Veil, you're able to see little glimpses of their memories. And what I'd like the rest of the wing to do between now and before the end of game is to either on our Discord or in text message, however you want to do it, send Eliza one little tiny detail of your character's backstory that you haven't told in game so far. So I think that would just be, it doesn't have to be, it can be to your comfort level what it is. It could be something really small and insignificant. It could be something really grand. It's entirely up to you. This ability, as Eliza's character is perfecting it, is manifested by she doesn't have a ton of control over which memory she's going to grab. So do that for me when you can, no rush. But over the course of however much time it is, Crash, you feel like you've understood this skill pretty well, and you feel pretty confident with it. In addition to all that goodness, you are, and I'm going to go to the advancing character page here. You, in addition to that, you your sparks go up by 2, so you have a total of 12 sparks to utilize now. You still have 5 health lessons or health levels. You now have your second lesson. You also get an improved action card, which is a 5 of your primary skill. Which, let me just recognize this and see what this is. Yes, 5. Yeah, so this could be, because you are now a hybrid, this could be, yeah. So this could be a 5 of intellect, a 5 of grace, or a 5 of strength. Entirely up to you. Obviously, a grace is your core style. Your combat skills will also determine, which that is. And as a forceful phoenix, your skill traits really could be skill or a grace or strength. So entirely up to you. You let me know, and we'll determine what that card is. But when we up level you, we'll get you that. And as your time with Mist is starting to come to a close, he brings you over to a portion of the lava lamp that just sort of blub, 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 opens up. And he says, okay, let's see what we got here. Okay. Looks like one of you has already passed through the crucible. You see 5 sort of silhouettes of light in this sort of amorphous shape in various sort of like arrangements, with one of them missing. Recognizing that as the talon that your wingmate selected, which was Epitaph. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Aaron, but I believe it was Epitaph. So you see these, and your mentor says, so you're allowed to ask 2 questions. And you look, and you can't see Mist anywhere. And the lava lamp seems to have stopped flowing. Everything just sort of seems paused. And just as you're about to move to start to walk around, you hear, we really don't have time for this. I'm going to make this easy on you. And all of those amorphous light silhouettes completely transform into the actual talons themselves. And you can see, not just with your eyes, but you can completely understand what each talon does. And you hear the voice say, go ahead. We ain't going to do anything. Just go ahead and choose. We just thought you might want to make an informed choice.
Okay.
Nothing in it for us.
What?
He says nothing in it for us.
Who is this now?
It hasn't been that long. You recognize the voice as your foe in the shed.
Oh, hey. Why are you here?
I wasn't far behind you. I'm just passing through. Thought I'd say hello.
You know what? When I see you on the other side, I'm going to make you turn into ashes.
Maybe you will. One of these will help.
I look at the talons.
Yep.
What am I looking at?
You are looking at a cloak named Dream Shadow. So each of the talons are double-sided. So essentially the way it works, as you've seen your wingmate do, it starts off with the orange side up, and then certain functions will allow you to flip it over. So Dream Shadow, during your turn, you may flip this card and become hidden. Once you do, you get +2 to attack and +4 to attack if you're hidden, and then you flip it at the end of that combat scene. So you would flip it back to that. The other is a bastard sword, a hand and a half sword, called Valoria, and it is +2 attack. And if you burn a spark, you can flip the card, which is +2 to defense. Burn a spark, flip the card. The third one is a magnifying glass, I think I described it as, called Thought Coil. Once per turn, you may burn a spark and add 5 when you make a skill spread. And you can burn 2 sparks to flip this card. And if you do, it is +2 to defense. You can make attacks at range, and you may burn 2 sparks to flip this card.
So it's anytime I can burn 1 spark and add 5 to a skill spread.
Correct. And then you can burn 2 sparks to flip the card, and if you do, it buffs your defense and allows you to make range attacks for free.
Ooh, oh ho ho. Okay. How long does that last?
Until you flip it again. Until you burn 2 sparks to flip it again.
Yeah.
That's a good one. They're all good.
Yeah.
The other one I believe was a really gnarly mace called Grimclaw. It's +2 to attack, and if you take a wound, you flip the card, and if you do, it's +4 to attack, and then you flip it at the end of combat, at the end of the scene. And then the last one is a shield called Bastion. You may flip this card when you are struck by an attack, and if you do, double your endurance against that attack. Basically, your health level is 2, meaning you just got to do 2 points of damage to do a wound. Basically, you would increase that to 4, and so on. And then once it's flipped, it's a +2 to defense for the rest of the scene.
Wow, really good choices.
Yeah, good variety.
I think it was the Grimclaw. Is that the?
That's the take the wound.
Oh, that's the wound.
Thought Coil is the one where you can add, those the plus to the skill spread, and then the +2 to defense, and make range attacks for free.
Mm-hmm. And which ones? Can you remind me which ones had the +4 to attack?
So the ones that gave you +4 to attack was Grimclaw. So if you take a wound, then you'll do +4 to attack, and then the other one was Dream Shadow, which is the cloak, which is if you're hidden, it's +4 to attack.
Dang, that's
so
a
many good
hard
choices. Yeah.
choice.
Dream Shadow and Thought Coil are the most like shrouded-y ones. But yeah, and actually, we're gonna pause the action right there while you decide this, and we're gonna go back to Vale. You're standing on the shore. The boat has docked. Mercy stands before you. She's eyeing you, and she's like, "Sugar, what happened?"
Where's Winter?
Winter's inside. Why do you need Winter?
I need to talk to him. No, I need to ask him questions.
Winter, I believe, goes by she, they.
I don't have that note. I'll make it now.
It's okay. It's all right. I don't think I gave it, so it's totally fine. It's totally fine. But yeah, Winter goes by she, they. Many of the 6/7s have a they in their pronouns as well, like they answered either. Mercy scans down and sees your ashes, and she says, "Your 3 wingmates, and who?"
That's what I want to ask Winter.
She pulls out her talon, which is a mirror. And it's this beautiful Parain steel mirror, hand mirror. On the back, it's got the Dawn Command logo etched in as part of the folding of the Parain seal. It's really beautiful. And give me 1 second. Sorry, I was muted. Sorry, I was totally muted there. So as she holds up the glass side, not to you or your face, but to the canisters that you're holding, and she just, almost like a panorama shot, she's just sort of like scanning them across, and then she brings the mirror to her face, and her face goes white, and she says to her adepts behind her, "Box and shavings." And one of them immediately sprints. And she places gently a hand on your shoulder and says, "Stay here, love." And extraordinarily quickly, this adept comes running back with a large Parain metal box, about small moving box size at Lowe's, and a bucket of what appears to be metal shavings. And he drops them at her feet and backs up, and the rest of the adepts back up. And she says, "That one, if you please, go ahead and lower it into the box."
I do so, and I back away, and I'm like, it can't blow up or put itself back together, right?
And she says, "No, we would be too lucky if it did that." And then she dumps the metal shavings on top of it until it fills the rest of the box and slams it. And then the lid has like a seal. And then two adepts come running back with two sort of like wooden staves, slide it through hooks on the side, and then carry it Raiders of the Lost Ark style into a different entrance of the Eyrie. They're off and running. And she's like, "Okay, yeah, let's go to the briefing room."
Yeah. What was that?
Those were Phoenix ashes, unlike any I've ever seen. And we're going to pause there. And we're going to go to our second Phoenix, who enters into the Crucible. Smoke, you were sprinting after a chariot as a human, or what you believe to be a human, what was known as a chant whisperer, was taken in the back of a chariot heading straight into town. And you are sprinting and sprinting and sprinting and sprinting, and you're running, and you're not fatigued, you're tired, but you are straining against your own superhuman limits. You're no Crash, but you're pretty fast. But you're desperately trying to catch up. What is Crash thinking, or what is Smoke thinking in this moment?
Smoke is, oh man, it's purely just like I've got to get to it. I've got to. I can't. Does Smoke feel the song in themselves at this point?
Maybe.
I think that you said that I was affected, so I want to make sure this was after.
You were able to shake off the effects for now. You feel like the initial preliminary effects of it, but you're able to, for now, shake it off. But you know that if you were to stop,
yeah, I think it's that sphere. That's what's propelling them right now. Is it's almost like they know that if they like stop, they're gonna get like that hollow feeling inside, and it's gonna feel like the song is filling them up, and so they need to almost like outrun the song, and they can do that by running towards this person that they need to save.
I'm still here. I'm just plugging my lamp back in.
You're great.
You're great. Okay, 1 second. Okay. So much better. Okay.
Just gotta keep running. Like, I can't stop, because if I stop, the song will catch up to me, and I will be unable to save this Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, you're starting to gain on it.
Great.
Because it feels like the chariot was maybe starting to slow down just a little bit. But the bad news is that you're in town.
Oh, boy.
The town itself feels like a ghost town.
Okay.
But there have been humans here recently.
Okay.
Whether it's nomads who've taken up in this old town and kind of just like refugees from Martinford or some of the other cities that have had evacuees, you're not exactly sure. You don't see anybody. What you do see is a few hastily thrown together piles of lumber and stone dotting the landscape. And as you get into the center of the town, just as it becomes within your reach, each of these little hastily assembled piles springs open with polished brass pillars with 3 spigots on each side. It's a spring trap, which causes the wreckage to like free itself of it.
Trap.
and for a second you see it before you hear, and then an eruption of fire. Intense flames, not the calming, warming flames of doing a fast rope into the Erie, into the pyre, but real man-made flame. You try to run, but as you're running, you feel parts of yourself fall apart. And then you feel yourself flying up. And the sky becomes blue, and then black, and then orange again. And you are back into your crucible. And again, this is a little bit different. The shape of the crucible can take your thoughts and help make this into whatever space you want it to be. So what does your crucible look like right now?
Oh man. Well, all that fire, and she just flew up into the sky. So I think that it's almost like you go from that blue to the black to the orange to back to the blue of the sky. And then it goes from the blue of the sky to like the blue of an ocean. And it's like you see the blue like rush in, almost as if her brain is trying to douse out the flames. And so it comes in and it comes in and it feels almost like it's like he's trying to like narrate the story to herself. So it feels like almost like one of the face, like it's drawn all on papyrus, and so you see this rushing in, but like in watercolor, very much so. And I think that it's at this point he is underwater, and so the crucible is now like smoke in the studio space underwater, and she's trying to douse out all the flames that were making her fall apart.
And in that moment, as you are trying to put yourself essentially back together, you're used to being alone. But you hear whispers. A couple different voices. One that says, "You died for others." One that says, "You died for duty." And then you don't hear a voice, but you hear almost like the static of a microphone that's on, but no voice. And it lasts for a while, and then it stops.
She's looking around. She's looking for it. It's like she's never heard that in here before. It almost feels like, and so she's. I feel like in this moment, like it's almost like she's in a kelp forest underwater now, and so she's trying to like wade through all this kelp looking for wherever that static was coming from. And it's like she's on the ocean bottom, so she kind of has to like lift her feet through like the like dense sand there, but she's looking for the static and it's not to be found, I'm guessing.
Yep. So what you do hear is the two voices say,
"For others," or
so basically determining your rank that you're going to be going into. So the two voices say, "She's not ready yet," and the other says, "She'll find her way in time, but for now, this is her time." And those voices, and on time, both voices seem to fade away. So you go ahead.
So in terms of like, do I pick between the two options?
Well, so earlier today,
I
asked you what school you wanted to pursue, and you said you wanted to pursue the bitter school to level 2. So the bitter school has no mentor.
Yep, still no mentor.
Still no mentor. So you're going to be here on your own.
Right.
You're underwater, you said, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Of course, underwater.
Okay. Okay. You're hunting for that voice, And underwater in these sort of like giant stalks of kelp and small schools of fish, there is a massive cave. And in that cave is an opening of just pure black. And you see a tiny reflection, and then another spaced out a little bit first. And then at once you see the rest of the rows of the teeth and a giant creature that maybe exists in a book somewhere, but a giant underwater nemesis that you have never seen in any of your lives emerges, and you begin to fight this thing. You have your baknak, you're stabbing it, it's tearing into you, and in this moment, you are going to have an evolution with how you fight.
Nice.
In one moment, you consider, in sort of how your mind would consider it, almost like the Rorschach, like, I'm not down here with you, you're down here with me.
Yeah.
And that's would be reflected by the combat style Hunted Predator.
Oh.
So it's 2 strength cards to attack, 2 grace cards to defend, and the special ability is you can add your current number of wounds to your defense spread.
Oh, nice.
As you're fighting it, however, you have a renewed intensity that you have never had before, which is no matter how many wounds you take, no matter how much damage you take, you are in this fight until the very last moment. And that is represented by the rank 2 talent, Savage Might. And what this talent says is when you have more wounds than your remaining health levels, all of your attacks inflict brutal.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is a goth kid's dream.
Yeah, I think that for Smoke, what's inspiring them to take down this creature that has like crawled out of this pool is it's this idea that like, oh no, last time I died, I was in the crucible for what felt like centuries. Like I am going to defeat this because they are still probably up there and need my help, and like I cannot have them wait centuries. And so it's about getting back to her new family, and that's why I'm going to kill you now.
Got it. So with that in mind, the alternative combat style or the talent, which one would you choose?
I think that I would choose. Let's do alternative combat style.
Great.
Yeah.
So the way this works, I think you're you may be our first person with 2 combat styles. So the way this works is every time it's your turn, not just every scene, but every time it's your turn, the first thing you do is choose your combat style. So you can choose this combat style 1 round, the next combat style another round. You can constantly flip-flop. And as you rank up and progress, it's not uncommon to get 3 or 4 different combat styles. So you'll have the ability to toggle and be situational. So you have chosen Hunted Predator. This helps keep you a little bit more alive and a little bit more in the fight over time.
Cool. I would like to stay alive longer. Yes, that's great.
So as you take wounds, as the thing bites into you, something interesting is happening. You're not just reacting with pure feral intensity. You are understanding its patterns. You are not book educated. You are still very much a child, but you're recognizing intrinsically what this thing is doing. And every time it does damage to you, you're realizing how to avoid that damage the next time. And in doing so, how do you want to do this? How do you want to finally kill this like little Leviathan dude?
Oh man, I want to okay. I want to do a so I almost imagine it like having like the body of like a dragon of sorts. And so I would like to climb up onto its back and then use the like weight of like gravity, because this is the crucible and like gravity still exists because that's my escape. And use my Bagman to basically have gravity like drag me down as I drag down with sliced it in half.
You're going to do the Errol Flynn. So in the Crucible, gravity exists when you want it to. So you can skip up its back like a rock and then gravity your way down, and you do that. And as soon as you do, you emerge. You're rocketed up out of the water, and then you emerge whole onto dry land. And when you do so, you find a rock that has been recently turned over. And in this rock are 5 glimmering pools in the silhouettes of weapons and tools. And you're looking at it. It's very pretty, it's very sparkly, and you realize just intrinsically you've got to be very careful about what you choose next.
Okay.
And we're going to pause there and go back to the Shrouded Phoenix Veil in media res. You've been ushered straight to the briefing room on the 5th floor of the Eyrie. Mercy has grabbed you by the hand and is dragging you, essentially. Like, but you're keeping pace, but she's moving with a sense of purpose. And periodically, even though she's in a hurry and you're very mission bound, periodically as she's holding your hand, her thumb like caresses the outside of your hand in a very I'm offering you what comfort I can method as she's like bringing you up. You get to the door. The guardian standing up. Pardon me, ma'am. There's a meeting. And then she immediately just pushes him out of the way, bringing you straight into the room. In the room is a 4th level elemental, or no, a 4th level, a rank 4 Durant Phoenix, who you do not recognize, but has the insignia of 1st Squadron, as well as Cinder and the quartermaster for your squadron, who are all in there seemingly just doing nothing of import. Mercy immediately walks to the center of the room and says, "Everyone but Cinder out." And even though she's talking to someone who outranks her, essentially, they all respect the space and they leave. Cinder sits up from his chair, still holding his staff, a little patch of flame quickly igniting and disigniting on his beard, when we're going to take a quick break. So if that's cool with everybody, we're going to take a quick 5 minute break, I think, to regroup. It's a night of cliffhangers. What can I say? We'll be back in about 5 minutes. We're going to regroup and pick up exactly where we left off. And we're back. Thank you back for joining us after a quick break. Resuming exactly where we left off. Cinder is in the briefing room with Vale and the devoted Phoenix Mercy from 2nd Squadron. I may have said 3rd earlier, but she's from 2nd. Cinder leans back in his chair and says, "Well, what can I help you for?" Mercy is about to speak, but then she turns to Vale. Go ahead, dear.
I asked to speak to Winter.
Winter is currently planning a mission right now. They're indisposed. What's troubling you?
Winter's to keep her secrets for the entire Phoenix Command, right? My whole squad just died for secrets. I need to talk to Winter.
As his face gets a little puzzled, he notices Mercy's face and says, "Okay, yeah, we'll get it." He snaps his fingers, and a little spark that forms the shrouded symbol for just a second appears and dissipates. She'll be here shortly. In the meantime, are you okay?
Vale kind of gets this weird, faraway look in her eyes, and she's like, "Justice. Who came before justice?"
Give me an observation check.
Would seeing this before be applicable here or no?
Yes.
Okay.
It would.
Sorry, I'm double checking because here it is. I get to add a card, but I wanted to make sure of that before I pulled my cards out.
Okay.
So 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. Plus 5, 16.
Got it. Okay, so you know that Justice was the final Phoenix Emperor who sacrificed her life to end the Civil War as part of the treaty. You know, prior to her, and she was a Durant Phoenix. You know that prior to her, there was, I'm bringing the name up now. Prior to her was Verity, who was a shrouded Phoenix. Verity was the Phoenix who ruled through the middle portion of the Dawn Empire, the human empire before it became, prior to being just the Delayan Empire, was the Dawn Empire. Verity was a fair but extraordinarily stern, some could say paranoid emperor who was really invested in rooting out corruption. And prior to her was Aegis, who was I want to say Durant Phoenix as well, who was the first emperor. Phoenixes were the very first leader of the Phoenix, however, was a devoted Phoenix by the name of, golly, his name is coming up in just a second. Savant. Savant was the first Phoenix in recorded history. Him and his 1,000 followers died in battle and became the first Dawn Command. He was the leader, and then as he died his final death, Aegis became the first Phoenix Emperor. So Aegis, Verity, and then Justice, and then the Phoenix rule of empires was no more.
Is that the answer that she was given, or did that just pop in her head? So I know.
You remember that, looking at the mural on the wall, like in your early training days, and then reading all of those books very fast in your previous mission, trying to gain all that knowledge. All of that just sort of as not your pulse, but as your senses focused, all of this sort of came rushing back into one moment. And as Cinder is about to respond to your answer, you start blurting out all of this, essentially answering your own question.
Okay.
Yeah. But as he nods, and for a 16, what I'll tell you is, as he's nodding and telling you all this, when he gets to Verity, something in his shoulders just tenses ever so slightly when he mentions Verity.
Oh, did Vale pick up on that? And that narrows the question she was going to ask all the way down to, what happened to Verity's ash?
Give me another observation check.
No, it's not going to be as good this time.
You can reload your hand.
Oh! I have psychometry, but they took the ashes from me.
That's okay. Read psychometry again.
You may discard this card in the history of the object you were touching. It says I have to do it for an object I'm touching. Does it count if I touched it recently?
I'm going to give you essentially a half benefit.
Okay.
All right. So your question is what happened to the ashes of Verity?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I'll say. There's just a bit of a pause, and I need to consult my map briefly. But as Cinder pauses briefly and says, well, all the ashes of the previous emperors they're stored under the Erie in Westigate. There's a giant eyrie there that was sort of the centerpiece of the city. But when Westgate fell to the Dread, we haven't been able to go back there. The safe, the Dread is the behavior patterns are pretty mindless, and we're assuming with your mission you were able to get some actionable intelligence on their behavior. But
My actionable intelligence is I just saw Phoenix operating in the middle of them, and I think it might have been Verity, which should be impossible.
he very quickly says it wasn't Verity. And he pauses and says, "But why do you say that?"
There was something about the way that they spoke. They hate everything. Us, the mortals, they just want it all gone. We've walked into 2 traps. What's going on here?
Cinder stands up, slams his staff into the ground, and a single spark appears before you, floating for just a second, before opening to a thin disc of flame from which Winter stumbles out. And she turns to Cinder and says, "We were 10 feet away." And he says, "Phoenix, we want you to say everything you just said to me right after Mercy here seals the door." Mercy does a little half nod and walks over, and with her mirror, almost like she's becomes a magical glue gun, she just creates a seal over the entrance and places her hand over it and leans in for a second before bouncing off and then coming back to stand by your side. She is there for you. So I assume you repeat everything you essentially just said.
Mm-hmm.
Verity looks at you and says, "This Phoenix, what did they look like?"
I look up like I'm trying to reach into the memories that I saw through Crash. Nothing at all.
She closes her eyes. And as her eyes close, as the eyelids fall upon each other, it's almost as if all of her features flatten. The white, wintry mist of the sort of Elsa aura around her goes dim, and her head lowers. And as her head raises, it's pretty close to the face that you saw. It's not 100%, but it's pretty close. And she says, "Was it this?"
You know them.
Her face changes back, and her and Cinder's heads turn to each other. She lets out an exhale, turns, and walks towards the... They're essentially window portcullises. They're open air. Essentially the thing that Joffrey, or not Joffrey, but that Tommen jumps out of, like the window. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't worry. But like that type of window. She walks over and just looks out into the horizon. Cinder lowers his head. And while looking down, he says, "The Phoenix you encountered was named Omen." And we're going to pause there. And we're going to go to On a Crossroad. Once upon a time, there was a devoted Phoenix who thought to seek cover behind a horse. And it didn't go particularly well. mainly for the horse, but to a lesser degree, the devoted Phoenix Rama.
It was bad for both of us.
It was bad. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
But in this moment, as the shifting, moving, almost living mess of gears and razor and chain and sawtooth comes down, in the last moment before an extraordinarily primitive chainsaw takes you, you see an emblem. It is an isosceles triangle with a circle sort of behind the apex of it. And we'll post something on Twitter to show what this looks like. And little lines almost indicating a sun, perhaps? An affectation of a sun?
Kind of like a keyhole with like little lines off of it.
In this moment, that's how you perceive it, yes.
Cool.
Okay. And it vivisects you.
Yeah.
Cleanly. You literally split into two, but it's okay because not even a second later, you feel like you've rejoined yourself and made whole as you fall onto your bottom inside your crucible. Now, again, your crucible is an infinite sea of light and warmth and safety, but now it's starting to reflect aspects of you. It can be a different color. It could even be a specific place. It's a holodeck. It can be whatever you want it to be in this moment.
I think she wants, like, the light and warmth were so nice before, and she lived for centuries in it. But it's all kind of overstimulating, especially after, being vivisected. So we're just going to hit the dimmer switch real quick. And I think she kind of just curls around herself and lets everything kind of get dusky and dark. And for the first time in a long time, feels like that is safe and safer than light. That goes against everything she knew and remembered from her first life. But that's what she needs now. A minute.
And so you hear the voice of your original mentor say to you, while you take this minute, think about what you need and why you're here. And when you're ready, say what it is you seek.
I wasn't able to protect them. I was holding her ashes. I was holding their ashes. And in the end, I couldn't even protect myself. What good is sacrifice if I'm not strong enough to protect those I love? The people that need me.
A hand lays heavy on your shoulder and gives the slightest squeeze. And the silhouette comes around and kneels down and faces you eye to eye. What do you see?
Her eyes are open, pouring out that light, and she's looking at just a mask, like a mask of a humanoid face. And there is just a full, a person in long billowing robes with a hood up. But there's no sense or sign of any material beneath it.
The mask is Parayan steel. It's got the Damascus steel wavy lines to it, but it's beautifully crafted, like nostrils, striations in the lip, individual eyebrows, sunken hollow eye holes where there might be eyes, and occasionally you get glimpses of it. A thin white hood held together onto the mask by a circlet flows over bits of Paraean steel that are clearly armor, gloves that are fine silk, but little, knuckles of armor all around it. And that shoulder that was on your hand that kind of traced around has turned into a reassuring pat, a firm back pat, and says, "We have much to learn from each other. I am Parapet.
Parapet. I'm Rama.
Arise, Rama, and let's begin our work." The first hour, week, year is all about posture and little adjustments to changing how you stand and present yourself. The second couple of minutes or month is really about how to place yourself where danger is. Not to be foolhardy or reckless, but with intent. There's a lot of talk that Parapet gives you about owning the ground on which you stand. So you have a choice because no one else in your wing is a Durant. You can choose one talent from either rank 1 or rank 2, which means you have 4 options to choose from. So I will go through the rank 1 options first, just because. Yeah. So when you're talking about posture, when he's talking about just the principles of what it means, not just to heal, but protection takes a few different sides. He talks to you about how, when you are at your very best, your mind and body and flame can align to seemingly present you with more options. And this is represented by the talent Paragon. Paragon says, your draw limit is increased by 1 when you're at full health. So you can go up to 6 cards in your hand. Millie agrees. That when you're at full health. When you're not at full health, standard 5 card hand. The other lesson he talks about is literally just it's more of a physical thing, right? Like, so when it's more tactical, when your wing is entering into different situations, how are you positioned? He references your exact wingmates. He references Smoke and Crash. He talks about how Crash is often in front due to her scouting, but oftentimes Smoke will want to be right in front to kill and stab. So therefore, where are you best served? How are you best positioned within that? And those lessons are in the concept of the Durant Bond card. And what Durant Bond says is once during your turn, you may burn 1 spark to allow a wingmate to draw 1 card. When one of your wingmates dies, you may take their core talent and use it until they are reborn.
Hey, do you guys plan on dying a bunch?
I mean...
Yeah, probably.
Isn't that the point?
That's fair.
Now, your rank 2 options. Pivoting off that last lesson is this notion of once you being a devoted Durant hybrid, you have the ability to really be in the front, not healing from the rear, but leading by example. And this is represented by the card Vanguard. Ooh. What Vanguard says is when you make a skill spread associated with leadership, add 5 to the total. Now, you do not have leadership as part of your course talents. I will allow you to take leadership if you swap it out for one of your existing.
Cool.
Add 5 to the total. When you make a successful attack, the next attack spread made against your victim in the scene inflicts brutal damage. So you bop it's basically a hunter's mark. You bop somebody, the next person to bop gets brutal on them.
Nice.
So it's a great combo setter card. And then your last option is interesting. Parapet, you see all this armor underneath. And he takes your talent and bangs it against the armor and it clangs and sparks. But then he intentionally bangs it in an area where there is no armor, and again, it bangs and sparks. And this is the talent known as Impenetrable Hide. And what that says is all brutal damage inflicted on you is treated as normal damage. During your turn, you may burn a spark to remove a burning or bleeding condition affecting you. So super tanky, super tough. So you have some options. I'll just go through them very quickly.
Hunter's Mark.
Vanguard it is. All right. So he's sort of going through the overview of the different Durant philosophies and Durant lessons. When the temperature of the color of your crucible changes, and he looks up and says, "Your time is near." And so he teaches you the lesson of Vanguard, and he has you practice that. You are able to discuss with him what leadership really is, and what, from his perspective, and this is a lesson you embrace, leadership is not about being the toughest, being the strongest, being the best. Leadership is about service. Leadership is saying, I have an ability, and it is my duty and my responsibility to protect, to provide, to help, to aid. Leadership to you is not about taking credit. Leadership to you is about providing people with what they need, Phoenix and human alike.
What if I'm not ready? What if I'm not enough to help them? Guess that's bad to say.
No, it's not bad to say. Being there makes you ready. Being there is the choice of so much depth and so many options and infinite opportunity and possibility, especially when it comes to not being there. Being there, standing beside someone, is an act of devotion. It is an act of revolution. Your mere presence is a statement. Your mere presence is an experience. Now let's make it a good one. And he goes to his breastplate and opens it to reveal 5 silhouettes of light. And we're going to pause there as we go back to the Shrouded Phoenix Veil. All right, we're making good time. Winter has not moved. But Cinder has begun to speak. And he says, Omen wasn't just one of us. In many ways, he was the best of us. A shrouded phoenix. But even before his life as a phoenix, he was a powerful magic user of the Grimwald tradition. He was a shrouded, but we always used to joke that he was the most bitter shrouded we had ever seen. It was bitterness born of wanting to protect and wanting to take care of things. He loved being a phoenix. He really believed that we were the pinnacle. We saw it as duty. We saw it as privilege. We were humbled. But he embraced the power. He embraced the responsibility of leading humanity. So imagine how he felt when the humanist movement arose and the humans that he had pledged his eternal life to protect decided they didn't want our protection no more. It was a complicated issue. We fought to maintain order, to prevent the loss of life. And he did too. But to his core, philosophically, he did not believe that humans were ready to lead. And as such, as our conviction began to fade, as less and less phoenixes were emerging from the crucible, because to emerge from the crucible, you got to believe in what you're fighting for. And after years and years of killing humans, many phoenixes didn't know what they were fighting for anymore. But Omen did, to preserve the empire, to preserve the rule of the phoenixes. Justice, myself, we all agreed that it was time. Time to hand over the reins. Time to let the humans carve their own destiny. Omen didn't agree. Omen didn't agree. Omen felt that we needed to crush the rebellion, crush the insurrection. What he failed to realize is that the rebellion and the insurrection were people fighting for what they believed was right, just like we were. History reflects that justice died of her own hand in a big grand ceremony with hundreds and thousands watching as she decided to end her own reign. That ain't the case. Omen ended her life. And I
What?
ended Omen's.
For good?
So we thought. 7th for both.
Now what?
Winter answers by saying, "What did he want?"
I don't know. Why don't you? You knew him.
We knew someone who died. We don't know what it is you encountered. We don't know if it's him. We don't know if it's someone who is assuming his form to mess
Considering
with us.
how ticked off and how ticked off he was and how personal this seems to be, I'd say it's him.
Yeah, you're probably right. All that is to say, my daughter is having a moment playing with my light. Oh my goodness, baby girl. Give me 1 second.
She's
Baby, honey.
she's your key grip today.
Yeah, she's she needs work. Baby girl. Baby girl. Hey. There you go. Okay. Thank you, honey. You can boom operate anytime for me. We don't know, but we got to find out. And Winter says to Mercy, "What was that package in the box that came?"
Omen's ashes.
Both her and Cinder immediately turn to you. And you brought it here. And then Mercy says, "We immediately contained it. It's down in the safe."
You're seriously going to yell at me about bringing back the ashes of someone I had no idea existed until 30 seconds ago when I asked?
No one's mad at you. That ain't it. That's not what this is. Ashes.
Well, you know what? I'm mad at you. My entire wing is dead because you sent us into 2 traps. You didn't warn us that any of this was possible.
Firstly, and you may have missed this part the first week, they'll be back pretty soon. Firstly. Secondly, we're not mad at you. We're not mad at anybody. No one's mad at anything. If anything, I'm mad at myself. Because clearly, I didn't do a good job killing him hot enough. And Winter says, you know that's not correct. He's dead. He died his final death. And then he found a way to come back. And if we have found his ashes, and we assume it wasn't you who slayed him, that means he slayed himself for a reason. And he's in the crucible now, and he will be reborn somewhere. Cinder takes a deep breath and a sigh. I'm on it. Excuse me. He lets himself out. Winter turns back and looks to you all and says, it'll be night soon. And in the morning, your wing will be reborn. When they are, you all report down to Chamber 7. Mercy reacts to that strongly and says, me too? Winter's eyes dart to her and say, you're not in their wing now, but clearly we need to consider some structural changes based on a new mission. And we will pause there. As we go back to the Forceful Phoenix crash. You have a choice to make. So again, I believe the ones you were thinking most about were Thought Coil, which gives you the chance to burn a spark to add 5 to a skill spread, burn 2 sparks to flip, plus 2 to defense, make attacks at range. You also had Dream Shadow. During your turn, flip to become hidden, and when you're hidden, plus 2 to attack all the time, and 4 to attack if you're hidden. And then flip at the end of the combat scene. Those were 2 that you seem to have the most interest in, but I am happy to read the rest if you so desire.
Yes. Can you just read me back Grimclaw one more time?
Grimclaw. Sure. Plus 2 to attack. When you take a wound, flip. On the other side, plus 4 to attack, flip at the end of the combat scene.
So you get plus 4 to attack when you're wounded.
Yep. And then plus 2 to attack just in general.
Okay. This was very difficult. I thought about it. I wrote them down. I think I'm going to go with Thought Coil.
Thought Coil it is. So, you reach in to Thought Coil, and it appears as a magnifying glass. You grab hold of it, and it immediately dissolves into your hand and flows through you and flows and collects into your talon, the sort of rosebud shuriken kunai blade that you have in your hand. And with it, there are some of the petals of are Paraean steel, but some have become this transparent, translucent glass element. And when you hold it up to your eye, you see refracted light, magnified elements. You seem to have some sort of sense of control to it. And you practice throwing it, and it throws and then immediately returns to your hand upon will.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, let me know how that works out for you. And then you drop out of your crucible and you're falling. And we will pause there and we will go to the Bitter Phoenix Smoke, who is got underneath this rock. Now there's only 4 remaining.
Oh no.
So
Are they disappearing?
well, yeah, there's only 6 bound to your wing.
Sure.
Vale, and Crash have chosen theirs, and it's whoever dies first gets the pick. That's
Yeah.
them's the rules. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm gonna share the information with you just because mechanically it's fair. Thought Coil. You can. Oh no, I'm sorry. You chose Thought Coil. My apologies. So you have Grimclaw, which is plus 2 to attack. You take a wound, you flip it, plus 4 to attack, flip at the end of the scene.
Okay.
So that one's based on taking wounds.
Cool.
Bastion, which is flip it when you're struck by an attack, doubles your endurance, and +2 to defense. Maybe not the best for a bitter, but who knows. Valoria, +2 to attack, burn a spark, flip, +2 to defense. Pretty versatile. It's the Soldier 76 of the Talons. And then Dream Shadow, flip to become hidden, and then once you're hidden, 2 to attack, and then 4 to attack if you're hidden.
What was the penultimate one? The Valoria?
Valoria, +2 to attack, +2 to attack, burn a spark, flip it, +2 to defense. Flip
Love
it back. That's it.
Yeah, that's the one.
You touch what appears to be just like the biggest sword possible. You touch it, the energy absorbs, it goes into your existing talon. Your Bognock blade grows by about 2.5 inches. So it's still a dagger, but it's a big dagger now. Yeah. And then the claws in your hand curve out a little bit more and have almost like a recess here. So if you wanted to catch a blade with the claw side, you could.
Ooh, yay.
Yeah. So it's an evolution of your talon. The Leviathan, you thought, emerges from the water and just does like a Klingon scream into the sky as you fall out of the crucible and back into the real world. Now, Rama, Parapet, your mentor, has opened up his heart to you. And there are 3 silhouettes remaining. So you have Grimclaw, which is based on you taking a wound. Bastion, which doubles your endurance and gives you +2 to defense once you do. And then Dream Shadow, which hides you, increases your damage when you're hidden.
I think this is going to be the weirdest flex, but I think I want to take Grimclaw.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is a weird flex, but I love it. I love
Yeah.
it balances your existing. Yeah, okay.
Oh, sorry, just like slightly meta.
Sure, yeah, please.
Isn't the talent that I picked up requires that I get a hidden, right?
You chose Vanguard, which means when you make a successful attack, the next attack spread make against your victim in the scene inflicts brutal. So,
so I do need help to get a hidden. So that's actually why the reason, like that's the reason
that
I
makes
need
sense.
to take Grimclaw. I'm very bad at doing a hit without it.
That makes all the sense in the world. Okay, great. I love it. I love it. Such interesting choices. You all fall through your crucible. The next morning, just before dawn, Mercy and the Hidden Phoenix, or the Shrouded Phoenix Veil, are standing in front of the Imperial Flame. Sun is about to crest. Mercy sighs. Sugar, what a mess you gotten us into.
Me?
Well, you know, not you. Not your fault at all. It's not that. I'm going to be plucked from my wing, it seems like, which is okay. But just wishing we knew how to handle this.
Do they even know?
She side-eyes you and says, "What do you think?" Go ahead and give me you can give me a spycraft check.
Would hidden motion be helpful here at all?
Nope.
Okay, then
unless you can describe to me how, in your time observing the two of them, you either saw a hidden motion or how your hidden motion would have gained you more information. So if you can think of something like that.
Everybody has a stress tell.
Okay.
And I just watched Mercy hear a lot of stressful information.
Okay, well, not just Mercy. So going back to that room with Winter and Cinder, I'll say this. Choose Winter or Cinder, and I'll tell you if it matters or not.
Winter.
Okay, yeah, it matters. Okay, so based on your body language knowledge, and based on how strongly Winter, a rank 7 shrouded phoenix, was trying to keep it together, you feel relatively confident in assuming that, one, you believe Cinder at his word. He was a wingmate of Omen's, and he killed Omen. And yet, somehow, Winter knows him at least as intimately as that, if not more so. So how would you like to manifest that to Mercy?
How long have you known Winter?
She's been around as long as I have. I was reborn a little over a year and a half ago. Thanks, Millie. Yeah, okay. That's a mixture of Mercy and me talking to my daughter. No, she just took this right off the clip. Hang on 1 second. Okay. All right. Oh wow, you got water on the iPad. That's cool. Pardon me, y'all. Okay, there you go, baby. So, only about a year, a little over a year, 14 months maybe. As long as I've been back, she's always been here. She's always been rank 7. She doesn't go into the field. She stays here.
Is she from the same generation as Cinder?
Maybe. I always got the impression she was younger than Cinder by a not insignificant margin. Frankly, I haven't asked. She's the Dawn Command S2. She runs intelligence for the entire organization.
Vale goes quiet for a minute, but you can like see the wheels in her mind turning. And then all of a sudden she looks up and she goes, "Do you think she'd have the fortitude to kill her mentor?"
Who do you think her mentor is? Do you think Omen was her... Wait, her mentor in the Crucible?
Do you have another explanation for how she knows Omen?
Oh, no. Oh, now you're... See, honey, now you're putting all these, like, thoughts in my head. And that's
I'm a shrouded. It's what I do.
I just make people better. And as she says better, dawn crests and a beam of sunshine hits the Crucible. And at once, Rama, Crash, and Smoke emerge and land on the cold concrete. And you arise and you see your wingmate.
Grinning, I might add. Welcome back.
I run. Oh, I just kind of gather them all up in a hug.
No, I know. Smoke goes in for a hug.
Yeah, hugs. Hugs all around.
Giant group hug. And Mercy is literally behind the group huddle, just literally physically trying to like nudge you to get moving, saying, this is so lovely, and really, we really do love seeing this. And we need more of this in Dawn Command. This is really great. But we are immediately summoned to a place I've never been, but a place that we're all apparently going now.
Right.
And
What is
I'm going to fast forward. You'll see. And I'm going to fast forward you all down there. But you go down to the second to last floor. This is really just logistics, supply. A lot of the humans, the Adepts and Guardians, some of their lodgings are down here. Some of their barracks, they're billeted down here. But she takes you through what seems to be just like a random corridor. She checks behind her, presses on the wall in 2 different spots at once, and the wall shifts. She ushers you in through a thin, single-file spiral staircase, down what feels like an additional 4 to 5 flights before arriving in a room, completely pitch black, until 6 torches ignite all at once. And before you is Honor, the Durant Marshal, Cinder, the Elemental Marshal, Winter, the Shrouded Marshal, oh golly, the Forceful Marshal, I forgot his name. It begins with a K, but I'll get to it in a second. Kestrel, and there is no Bitter Marshal, so sadly, it's just there. And then the Devoted Marshal, Joy, are all there. Just like on the day of your arrival when they were there to greet you. In addition is Mercy, as you know. And also Rupture, your squadron commander for 4 Squadron. He stands there. Everyone else is looking directly at you. He's looking down. Well, I guess I won't be needed anymore. Take care. And he walks, and as he's walking his way out past the 4 of you, he kind of gives you a nod of respect, and he says, give him hello, 2-3. And he walks out. Justice, or not Justice, Honor goes, don't you all have a name yet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
I look at Rama.
Candlewick.
Cinder likes that. He smiles. But it's a melancholy smile. Like, wow, that's great. The rest nod. And Honor says, well, Candlewick, we hope you've enjoyed your brief time in 4th Squadron. You have been reassigned. You will no longer be part of 4th Squadron. You will no longer be a part of any squadron. You are an operational detachment alpha, tasked with 1 mission and 1 mission only. You are to find Omen. You are to determine the method with which he walks this earth. You will learn his intentions. You will gain access to whatever it is he's working on through whatever available means. And once this is determined, you will provide us with enough actionable intelligence to terminate him yet again. Because if it's one thing we have been able to deduce, is that whether he started it with intention, whether it was his plan, or more likely, an accident, based on your debriefing and the information you've provided, we believe Omen started the dread. And that's where we're going to stop for tonight.
If I could, right before the credits
Please,
roll,
yes, please.
right
Yeah.
before the credits roll, I just look
Sure.
around at everyone and I'm like, okay, who's Omen? And then credits roll.
Love it. Love it. Love it. That was great. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, as you can probably guess, this is setting up the final elements of this season. We're going to be back next Tuesday and the Tuesday after that, which will be the season finale of this season of Operation Emberfall. Which means this wing has essentially 1 more mission this season. Do we think they're going to be able to ascertain, apprehend, interrogate Omen in 1 mission? Most likely not, but it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Rude.
We'll see.
Rude.
Thank you all so much. This was a fantastic episode. You all did great. You're all rank 2 now. You're all the same rank, which is amazing. But yeah, this is everything that came before and everything after. This is the hinge point. Wing 023, Candlewick, has a new mission to hunt, trace, and determine what the hell Omen is up to. So join us back here 1 week from tonight, won't you? For more Operation Emberfall. And until then, Dawn Command, Fallout.
Ooh.